So welcome to Behind the Resource Card. This is a speaker series that is meant to humanize and normalize these hotlines that appear on our resource cards here at Hope for the Day. So if you haven't seen those before, that's these. And we have these wonderful resource cards for all of our different areas of specialty and conversations. And often when we hand these out at community spaces and music venues, people take them, but they don't really know what they're going to get. And it can be really uncomfortable and uncertain to what type of experience they may have when they're calling for help or when they're calling for help for a loved one. So I want to validate that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help.
Good evening, everyone. I am Rachel Larkin, Director of Crisis Prevention and Intervention Services at EveryMind. We are a local National Suicide Prevention Lifeline Center. Our hotline's been around for more than 50 years, but sort of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline has sort of really coalesced out of 1-800-SUICIDE, which was another program in the early 2000s, probably 2005, it was officially moved to Vibrant. So suicide is one of the most stigmatized issues that is around, and a lot of people are reluctant to reach out for help. So the hotline is really, really essential because people might be afraid to go to the hospital. They might not want to have mental health care. And, you can talk to somebody who's non-judgmental, it's free, it's confidential, and it can really make a difference in so many lives. So you can reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline 3 ways. You can call 1-800-273-TALK or soon to be in July 988. Also via chat at nationalsuicidepreventionlifeline.org, or you can text us. And again, you're going to get somebody who has had extensive training. We'll talk to you. The goal, Lifeline is very explicit that least invasive measures should be used. So all the research says that going to the ED and being hospitalized, often when people are released, they are more suicidal. So that is the last ditch sort of effort. So Lifeline, for our particular center, there's 160 centers across the nation. They all have either American Association of Suicidology, ICH, or CARF accreditation. And so for us, our center in particular sends out intervention on less than 5% of all our calls. And that's in only situations where somebody is in danger. And we feel like, again, if somebody is calling National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, even though they've already ingested a substance or in the process, there's some part of them that has maybe a little bit of ambivalence. There's a lot of places you can call. So we only send intervention if somebody's life is like in danger at that minute, and they won't work with us because our goal is for them to voluntarily receive help. And it's very few cases. And Lifeline right now is working really hard to connect with mobile crisis teams. Because that is sort of a better option than the police. We're very lucky in Montgomery County, Maryland. We have a lot of CIT trained officers, and they work really closely with our crisis center and the mobile crisis teams, but not every part of the country has the same resources. So the real push is to find a way to get the person help without sort of putting them in danger or putting them in a situation where they're going to be more suicidal. But the vast majority of calls end with just somebody sharing what they need. We'll do a risk assessment with you. We'll do safety planning with you. But really, and I think what's common to all the hotlines is that we witness your pain and we acknowledge what you've been through, and we're there to support you. I mean, it's very similar. When there's a famous death or somebody comes out and talks about their past suicidality, but much like the others, we had a huge spike when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, because again, that impacted a lot of people, and a lot of people thought it could impact my life in a lot of ways. So, it's just crisis is not predictable. So this kind of, even with with media and as much planning as possible, you never know when that's going to hit folks. Or Hurricane Ida, and the impact that's had on part of this country too. And part of Lifeline is the disaster distress helpline too. Some of those things you just can't predict or know when they're going to happen. One thing I'd like to point out is a lot of people, we get this question a lot on chat and text, and we aren't bots. Everybody thinks we are bots, but we are not bots. And it's really hard to prove to somebody on chat and text that you're not a bot if they think you're a bot. But I can tell you this, if we were bots, everybody get answered really quickly. So the fact that you might have to wait is proof positive that you are getting a live person, and we're not a bot. So that's one misconception I would definitely like to clear up. One of the things I want younger people to know is that we take you 100% seriously, no matter what your age. I think sometimes people think they won't get taken seriously because of their age. And I don't care if you're 9 years old or 90. If you're in pain, we're going to listen and be there for you and help you, feel acknowledged and stay safe. But it doesn't matter your age. We believe you. We're going to take you seriously, and we're going to be there to listen and help and support you. I'll go first. My particular center, people get 70 hours of training, and only about 50% of people that go through the training actually pass and make it on, because we are looking for very specific issues. But we have to cover a lot of stuff like mental health, cultural competency, a lot on suicide. So we do our best to stay on top of it, but we also, want you to feel like you can be honest and say, hey, that's not, I prefer you to say this instead, or, you're not, being respectful of this. That's okay too. And I think we can speak for all the hotlines. We want people to be honest, because we're there to help you. And if you don't feel like you're understood or respected, we can't help you. So please be honest. But we do go through intense cultural competence training on LGBTQ, trans issues, all different sort of racial and gender minority issues. But again, you should feel comfortable speaking out if you do feel uncomfortable with an experience you have, because, some hotlines even do 100 hours of training, and you still can't cover everything as much as we'd like to. So, please know that you have a voice, and all these services are here to serve you and make your lives better. So please, use your voice if you need it. Well, I know for Lifeline, you should definitely contact Lifeline right away and let them know, when you called and the name of the person you talked to. I know as a center director, I will immediately follow up with that person. We don't record calls. Some centers do, but we don't record calls. But I will follow up with that person who was on at that time. Go over their skills, make sure that they are being appropriate. We can also silent monitor. So if somebody comes to our attention is not handling calls properly, a manager or supervisor will get on and listen into their calls to make sure that they are being appropriate and they don't know. So again, use your voice and let people know and say, this was not a good experience, because we can't listen to every single call. We can't monitor every single one. So we need to know it. And it's the same thing as, let's say you go to a therapist and you have a bad experience, or you go to a doctor and you have a bad experience. Nobody can re-educate that person or help them get the skills they need, or let other people know if you don't speak up. And it can be really scary to speak up sometimes, but this service is here to serve you and to be a support to you. So if it doesn't work for you, or something is not, you feel you aren't treated well, then let us know, because that's not what we're here for. For Lifeline, because it's 160 centers across the nation, you can go to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline website and put in your local, state, or zip code and find which one is serving you. Most centers use a mix of volunteers and paid staff. And the other thing I want to bring up is, when you talk about wait times, Lifeline is routed and maybe this is different for the other centers, but Lifeline is routed by location. So some areas have a lot of centers that serve them and some have very few. So that also you can support your local center that way. And I think it's important for folks to know also that like our local center, we provide 24/7 phone support. We do text and chat 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we get less than $10,000 a year from Lifeline for doing that, providing that service. It doesn't even cover like a month of phone bills. So local support for these lines is really important. Like I'm sure the Trans Lifeline and RAIN also really could use additional support. I think the more you support these hotlines, the more specialist operators you can get on serving you with more well-trained people, the more resources that are out there. So next time you get frustrated that you called and you have to wait for a few minutes, or think about, $5 does make a difference for each of these hotlines, and find your local center. Think about volunteering, and maybe you feel like you're not comfortable talking to somebody, you just because you have lived experience doesn't mean you're comfortable helping other people through it, and that's okay. But letting people know about the resources available, letting them know that you called and it was a good experience to any of these hotlines, and $5 makes a difference, or $10 makes a difference, and it makes a difference in your experience and the experience of everybody across the nation. So I've been working on suicide for more than 15 years now. I have lost a family member to suicide. But one of the things that people don't realize is that over 1 million people each year in the United States have suicidal ideation. I think we all have either felt that ourselves or know somebody that we love or care about who has. And I think, that is what brought me to it, because a conversation can save a life. A conversation can change a life, whether you've been sexually assaulted, whether somebody keeps using your dead name, whether you're a veteran and you need to, your battle buddies aren't available to you. A conversation can change or make a difference in your life. And that's why all these hotlines exist. And that's why every morning we all get up to do this, because everybody who's there is here for a passion, and they're certainly not here for the big bucks. They're here because they care. And this is extremely meaningful work to them, because, it is more than a job. It is personal. It is lived experience. We all are touched by it, whether we are really aware of it or not. Just echoing what everybody else says, about 30% of our volume is what we call third party. We can talk to you about your concerns. We'll coach you through, do what you feel comfortable with. And this is a hard conversation to have. So sometimes it's, hey, I'm worried about you, and put the, here, and that's okay too. Or, we'll give you local resources. But yeah, just reaching out for more information is always a great idea. And seeing what you can do, and we'll role play with you. But yeah, echoing what everybody else said here. Well, I want to kind of piggyback on Hope for the Day's motto. It's okay not to be okay. There you go. Thank you, Allison. And I think that's why all of us are here, because it's okay not to be okay. And our hotlines are there for you. You don't have to be in crisis. You don't have to be suicidal. All these folks are here to listen and help you. But you don't have to be at the edge. We're there for you. We're there to listen, and we want to make a difference. But I also, we can't make a difference on any of these issues unless we talk about it. And I think, I'm so glad you guys are all here. I'm so glad everybody's listening to this in the future, because, you might not be ready to talk about your experience yet, but maybe, you can like a post online. Maybe you can not laugh at a joke at sexual assault survivors' expense. Maybe you cannot laugh when somebody makes a trans joke. Maybe you cannot make a joke about suicide. Maybe, whatever you can do, talking about these issues makes a difference. But it's going to make the most difference if you reach out when you need to talk. So I strongly, don't hesitate. It's not that scary. All these people are here because they care. And we want you to be on your journey to getting to be back to being okay. But it's okay not to be okay, but we're here for you to help you on your journey back to being okay again.